This past year has seen 34 states pass or propose so-called voter ID laws. These are laws that require people to show a photo ID in order to vote. 21 million people lack the necessary documentation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers on the Vote. I'm Robert Trainum, and I'm joined by William Kellibrew IV, Deputy Director of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. William, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Robert, for having me.
So let me start off by saying there are dozens upon dozens of governors and state legislators and so forth that say, what's wrong with having a valid photo ID, a passport, a driver's license, some type of documentation to prove that you are who you say you are?
You know, 2 points here. One, the right to vote, not the privilege to vote, but the right to vote is our most fundamental right. It precedes all others. And so there shouldn't be any barriers to doing that. And if you do have to show an ID, well, what does it take to get that ID? And many people across America, and you mentioned 21 million, that happens to be 11% of folks out there across the country, and then 25% for African Americans who are affected by this. And just in Milwaukee, 78% of black males between the ages of 18 and 24 do not possess a government-issued ID. What does that mean? Well, they've got to go get a birth certificate to get an ID. They've got to get a Social Security card. In one story, it took over a month to get those documents. Just imagine if you did that just 15 days out from the election.
I do understand, especially in economic depressed areas, how difficult it can be to, frankly, rub two nickels together to try to put food on the table and so forth. Oh, yeah. But what I can't understand, and I'm sure some viewers at home may not be able to understand this, is don't you need a photo ID to cash a check? Don't you need a photo ID to board an airplane? Do you not need a photo ID for basic government functions in order just to be an American? So what is the problem with having a photo ID to go to vote?
Well, you know, some folks don't even have those to cash a check, and they're using payday lenders to get things done and get around the system. But it's very difficult sometimes to get that, and even when states have made them free, you still have to pay $23 to $25 in different states to get the birth certificate. So when you can't feed your family, and you have a choice between a birth certificate and feeding your daughter, which one are you gonna take? There
are a lot of folks out there, particularly on the Democratic side, that says, you know what? When it comes to brown people, whether that be African Americans or Latinos or Native Americans and so forth, in depressed areas, Republicans are trying to suppress the vote. They're trying to suppress the vote in areas, ironically, in Philadelphia, which happens to be in the swing state of Pennsylvania, in Cleveland, which so happens to be in the swing state of Ohio, in Miami, which also happens to be the swing state of Florida. Can you see the argument that some Democrats are saying that Republicans are trying to steal the vote, or do you think that argument is null and void?
Well, it's hard to answer that question and get into the whole
politics behind it.
The politics behind it. You know, I represent a nonpartisan organization, and yes, we do see where things are happening here, but there is voter suppression going on. There are attempts to eliminate the access for communities of color, low-income communities, students, seniors, and it just so happened that most of the legislatures who are pushing these through happen to be Republican at this point in time. And so whoever wants to make that argument can, and I think it can be evident for them. But that seems to be what's happening. And there are others behind it, like the American Legislative Executive Council, who has model legislation. This isn't grassroots legislation, being pushed through legislatures across America. It's model legislation.
William, a few moments ago, you mentioned the nonpartisan organization that you are ahead of, the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. I want to talk about the organization, and I want to talk about specifically what you do, but you're motivated with public service. You're motivated to help other people. And the reason why, if you don't mind me sharing, is because you have a personal story here. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you lost your mom. Yes. And you lost a sibling at the hands of a perpetrator. Yes. They were murdered right in front of you at the age of 10 years old. Yeah. You were raped prior to that. And just the next day, your grandfather took someone's life, I guess out of anger. You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Why are you motivated to serve?
Wow. When I finally got it, my grandmother was the example for me. And
Grandmoms are very special.
Oh, grandmas are very special, and you know, prayers are up for your grandmother as well. But my grandmother jumped right in that day. She just committed to her grandchildren. There wasn't foster care for us because she was the example and she was the alternative. And she continued to work 2 weeks after that to make a difference. And so that example for 38 years on her job, it's almost like you don't make them like that anymore,
Sure.
you know? But her example really led the way for me. You know, it didn't come without fault and without, you know, stealing cars at 15 and, you know, messing with drugs and doing things like that. I mean, a regular person here. But she was able to do that. When it finally clicked that my superhero was living, I was living with her. I had no idea. She went through 6 bypass surgery, and then that really turned my life around because it was like losing a second mom. And by the way, you know, while I want to to take the credit for being the head of the organization, I actually have a boss, Melanie Campbell, who is our president and CEO, and she's just been doing an awesome job training as well and leading and guiding our organization.
William, in the few moments that we have left, what is the message that you would like to leave with our audience? And 2 things. One, how can they get involved in the political process to perhaps either help states have tougher voter ID laws or to help states eliminate these type of things? And my second part of the question is for the viewer at home that's watching, how can they get involved specifically?
Well, one of the things we have to do as voting age citizens is register. Register and then verify that registration. Make sure that it's on the books because the roles can be purged. You can be removed from those for any reason. So you want to make sure you're on there, and then you want to vote. You want to make sure that your issues, your concerns, you know, what values do you have are captured in the election so that the person who's representing what your ideals are, that you're there. And then the specific way to get involved, you can certainly look us up on the internet at ncbcp.org, and you can also follow us on Twitter at ncbcp or at Black Youth Vote.
All right, William Kellibrew IV, thank you very much for joining us. You're an inspiration to us all. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I really appreciate being here.
No, not a problem. Of course, thank you for joining us for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers on the Vote. I'm Robert Trainum. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.